everybody. My name is Asher Enns and I am 10 years old. A year ago, the Lord gave me a vision of the Generations Ministry. And here we are with my brothers Ethan.
Hi.
And Micah.
Hello.
We, at the Generations Ministry, are partnering with our dear friend, Ms Alicia, to talk about the faithfulness of God and His great love for us. Welcome, Ms Alicia. God, the one and only true God, creator of the universe, loves you so much. He loves you more than any other person that has ever loved you combined.
Well, that's a lot of love.
It sure is, Micah. So, Ms Alicia, we know that God has been so faithful to you throughout your life, even before you knew Him. Yes. We understand that you were born in Poland. Can you tell us how God was faithful to take care of you when the soldiers showed up at your house?
Thank you, dear Asher. First of all, it's such a pleasure to be with you, Asher, with Micah, and with Ethan.
Thank you.
This is a wonderful day. It's a day maybe that will influence and go far, far into our country and other countries and influence people, but influence your children. That's the purpose of this session. This is Second World War. In 1939, when Germany attacked Poland from the west and Communist Russia attacked Poland from the east. We thought they were coming as our allies. But when they started shooting out in our soldiers' faces, we knew they were coming as our enemies. 6 months later, Poland was divided into half: Eastern under Germany, Western under Germany, and Eastern under Soviet domination from Soviet Republic. And then one morning, in February 10th, 1940, it was just like it happened yesterday. We woke up to the beating of the rifle butts on our front door. It was spoken to us in Russian. Open the door. So my father rushed to open the door, and they said, "Against the wall, hands up, surrender your guns." If my father did not surrender, he would have been shot immediately right there. And they said to us, "You have 15 minutes to pack." Can anyone relate to that? It was the day of 1940, February 10th. The lists were all made up. The arrest occurred that night all over eastern Poland from top to bottom. 15 minutes to pack. My parents were professional. My father was a forester. My mother was a horticulturalist. She was helping farmers how to cultivate better. Why were we arrested? We were not Jews. Communism arrests middle class. Anyone who can be regarded to them as an enemy of the state. My parents owned at businesses, had good jobs, and we had an estate. Beautiful home was just built, and we were given 15 minutes to pack. What do you do? What would you have done? Think about it. Everyone who hears this, listen, think about that. We were taken, 3 suitcases packed, some warm clothes on, and we were shoved out the door in a cart. My father still remembers his Arabian horse actually crying. Animals know. And we were taken to a train station. The same kind of train was awaited us as the trains that were taking Jews to the concentration camps. Cattle train, 40 to a compartment. I remember the last minute when we were shoved on that train. My uncle learned of our capture, arrest, and he passed over a bag of dried food And they yelled, Dombrowski, Dombrowski, that's my middle name. And so it was passed on to us. God's grace already is seen in action. The doors closed, but I remember one case. Those who came to arrest people, if parents were not at home, children were arrested. And 3 children were put on that train. And the mother, who was absent, learned about that. And I remember her falling down on her knees to the guard and begging, take me, but let my children go. And he just took his rifle and beat her and beat her. She fell crying at his feet. All 3 children died of starvation. It was a train ride which lasted 30 days. Not a single loaf of bread was given to us, not a bite of bread, nor any water. Doors were only opened to discharge the dead. If it wasn't for that bag of food, I would not be here today. God's grace. And as I see my life in the future, it was God's grace here, God's grace there. Without that, there is no purpose for our lives. God had purpose already. And my father, just before the doors closed, my father already arranged with a farmer who had a load of dry grass. No, not called dry grass. Yes. And then to hide me under and delivered me to our relatives. And he said, I was holding my father always. My father to me was like I was a little treasure. And I always remember him holding my arm always around his neck. And he said, called me Alicia, Ms Alicia. And then he says, I already paid that man to take you and hide you under not the grass,
the hay?
Think of it. Under hay, thank you. Under hay. But what the guards were doing, they would take a rifle or a bayonet fixed at the end, and they will go through that and test if there's anybody hiding. But I said to my father, I'm not going. And my father said, we are going to a certain death. And I said, if you die, I'm going to die with you. I'm not going there. And most likely, if I stayed there, I would have been burned alive, whatever followed after we left. So God already was in action. I'm saying this because you say, what do you know? How do you know? What do you know? The future life showed God's grace from the very beginning, Asher. From the very beginning, it was the things that were happening were not real, did not make any sense. Why did so many die on that train? And I remember the father whose 3 children died. They were just thrown on the snow, and he went crazy. And so we came to the camp, concentration camp, for one purpose: to work hard and die of starvation. 3 years, piece of bread and water. And the Russians say, if you have water and bread, there's no hunger. Okay, so people started dying. And so many things happened there. Now God again showed his grace. My mother was supposed to die. And then how he kept her alive. It's such miracles. So this was the beginning. And then the rest of the story followed.
Wow. Thank you, Ms. Alicia, for sharing that amazing testimony with us. God was so faithful to provide that food for you and keep you and your family alive on that train.
Yes.
We saw through Ms. Alicia's testimony that even through terrifying times and events, God is faithful.
Yes.
He is always with you because he loves you and he has a plan for you. God loves you so much that he promises you a future.
Yes.
And I want to encourage you today that if you're feeling alone, just call out to God, because he is right beside you always.
Thank you for joining us this episode, and we will see you next time when we hear from Ms. Alicia about the time where she survived in a market, all alone, with no food, in the cold. Amazing. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.